Are your joints constantly aching, you feel exhausted all day, and your doctor says your blood tests are normal? What if I told you that a genetic mutation is causing your body to silently store toxic amounts of iron, literally rusting your organs from the inside out? Today, we are exposing. That sentence is not designed to scare you. It is designed to explain why so many good men feel like they are falling apart while being told everything is fine. This video is for educational purposes only. Hemochromatosis is a serious genetic disorder that requires medical monitoring. Do not self-diagnose or start donating blood recklessly without getting a comprehensive iron panel, including ferritin and transferrin saturation, and an HFE genetic test from your doctor. I need to say this clearly: iron overload is real, serious, and treatable, but it has to be handled with proper testing and medical supervision. The recommended evaluation is not just a routine blood count. Doctors use iron studies such as ferritin and transferrin saturation, and they may add HFE genetic testing when iron overload is suspected. If you have crushing fatigue, stubborn brain fog, sore knuckles, stiff joints, low motivation, and a sex drive that feels like it has quietly disappeared, you are not weak, lazy, or broken. Those symptoms are consistent with hemochromatosis, and they are also the kind of symptoms many people ignore because they sound like stress, aging, or low T. NIDA lists fatigue, joint pain, and loss of interest in sex or erectile dysfunction among the common symptoms, and Medline Plus notes that some people have no symptoms at all for years while iron keeps building up silently. That is why this condition gets missed so often. A man feels awful. His routine labs look unremarkable, and everyone moves on. But iron overload is not looking for attention, it works quietly. And here is the part most men never hear. A basic CBC is not designed to answer the iron overload question. Hemochromatosis is evaluated with iron studies, especially ferritin and transferrin saturation, plus HFE testing when appropriate. The diagnosis is often hiding in the wrong test panel. So when a doctor says, "Your blood work is normal," that may simply mean the wrong blood work was checked. You can have a normal-looking routine panel and still be quietly accumulating iron in the liver, joints, pancreas, and other tissues. Medline Plus explains that the excess iron is stored in organs and can damage them over time because the body has no natural way to get rid of the excess. That is the trap. You are not imagining the exhaustion. You are not just getting old. And you are not crazy for knowing something is wrong. In the next chapter, we are going to expose the genetic switch that makes this happen in the first place. You are not just tired. You may be dealing with a hidden iron loading disorder that deserves proper testing, proper monitoring, and a real medical conversation, not dismissal. Now we get to the real engine behind the problem: the HFE mutation. In a healthy body, iron is treated like precious cargo. Your intestines absorb just enough from food to keep your red blood cells, muscles, and enzymes working. Then the body quietly keeps tight control over the rest. But with hereditary hemochromatosis, that control system breaks down. The result is not a small imbalance. It is a slow biological trap. Your body keeps taking in iron long after it has enough. Here is the part most people never learn in school. Humans are built to avoid losing iron, not to easily eliminate it. Historically, iron deficiency was a much bigger threat than iron excess. So the body evolved strong conservation systems. That means there is no easy natural, dump excess iron, switch. We do not pee out meaningful amounts of iron. We do not sweat it out in large quantities. The main way the body gets rid of iron is through blood loss. That is why excess iron can accumulate quietly for years unless someone looks for it. The HFE gene helps regulate how much iron your intestines absorb. When this gene carries certain mutations, the signal that says, "enough," becomes weak or distorted. Instead of respecting the body's iron needs, The gut acts like a vacuum cleaner. It keeps pulling iron in from meals, day after day, month after month, year after year. This is why a man can feel fine for a long time while the damage is still stacking up in the background. The overload is slow, silent, and cumulative. This is where the story gets frustrating. Men in their 40s and 50s start noticing fatigue, lower drive, worse workouts, mood changes, and brain fog. Naturally, they think, maybe my testosterone is dropping. Sometimes people even get treated for the symptom while the cause stays hidden. But iron overload can contribute to endocrine stress over time, including damage to the pituitary and other hormone-regulating systems. So the body can look like it is slowing down from age, when in reality it may be under a toxic iron burden. The dangerous thing about HFE-related iron overload is that it does not usually announce itself loudly in the beginning. It can build over decades. A man may be told, "Your labs are okay," while the excess iron keeps accumulating in tissues that were never meant to hold it. That is why family history matters. This condition often runs in families, and some people inherit 2 copies of the mutation without realizing it. Others carry 1 copy and may still have enough iron-loading tendency to matter clinically, especially when other risk factors are present. This is the part that enrages a lot of patients, and honestly, I understand why. The problem is not always bad medicine. Sometimes it is incomplete screening. If someone orders only a routine CBC, they can miss the entire story. CBCs do not measure iron overload. What you need are iron studies, ferritin and transferrin saturation, and when those suggest overload, HFE genetic testing becomes important. If those labs are never ordered, the diagnosis can sit there hidden for years. So no, this is not just aging. It is a biochemical trap that many people never get tested for until damage has already started. The mutation is not the whole damage story. It is the switch that leaves the iron gate open, and once that gate is open, the overload can quietly keep building for years. Now we get to the part that makes this condition so dangerous. Iron is not just a mineral in excess. It is a highly reactive transition metal. In the right place, under the right control, it is essential. But when iron is left free enough to participate in oxidative chemistry, it can help generate some of the most damaging molecules in biology. One of the best-known mechanisms is the Fenton reaction, where iron reacts with hydrogen peroxide and helps produce the hydroxyl radical, a very aggressive reactive oxygen species. That radical can damage DNA, proteins, and cell membranes extremely fast. That is why people use the word rust. It is a metaphor, but it is a powerful one. Rust is what happens when metal is oxidized and broken down by its environment. Inside the body, excess iron can drive a similar kind of oxidative breakdown at the cellular level. The result is not one dramatic explosion. It is repeated microscopic injury, over and over, until tissues start to fail. The body's normal antioxidant defenses can only handle so much before the balance tips toward damage. The hydroxyl radical is not some vague, bad energy. It is a highly destructive reactive oxygen species that can attack lipids, proteins, and DNA. That means membranes get damaged, enzymes stop working properly, and genetic material is placed under stress. When this happens in the setting of iron overload, the injury becomes cumulative. Cells are not failing because they are weak. They are failing because they are being chemically assaulted. This is one reason men with iron overload often complain about joint pain long before anyone thinks of a genetic iron disorder. In hereditary hemochromatosis, excess iron can accumulate in the joints, and arthralgias are a common early manifestation. So when a man says, "My hands ache, my knuckles hurt, my body feels older than it should," that may not be random wear and tear. It may be a clue. Iron overload does not politely stay in one place. It can accumulate in the pancreas, where it can damage the insulin-producing beta cells and contribute to diabetes. It can also affect the anterior pituitary gland, which helps regulate hormones. That is one reason some men feel like their energy, libido, and recovery have collapsed. The problem may not be low testosterone as a standalone issue. The deeper problem may be iron-driven organ stress. The liver is one of the main organs that stores excess iron, which is why it is so vulnerable. In untreated hereditary hemochromatosis, excess iron in the liver can progress to fibrosis and cirrhosis. That is the scary part. The damage can be quiet for years, then suddenly become serious. The liver is trying to work through a chemical storm that was never supposed to be happening inside it. So this is not just too much iron. It is iron plus chemistry plus time. That is the real trap. And once you understand that, the next question becomes obvious. How do you lower the iron burden fast enough to stop the oxidative damage, while helping the liver recover from what it has already endured? This is why iron overload is so deceptive. The body can look stable on the outside while, inside, a slow chemical rust process is grinding away at your cells. Now for the part that actually moves the needle. You have to remove the excess iron. There is no supplement that can magically pull iron out of overloaded tissues. The standard medical treatment for hereditary hemochromatosis is therapeutic phlebotomy, which means regularly removing blood to lower iron stores. NIDA describes it as simple, inexpensive, and safe, and notes that doctors usually start with blood draws once or twice a week, then monitor iron and ferritin levels over time. Medline Plus also states that phlebotomy is the best method for removing excess iron from the body. Why does this help so much? Because much of your body's iron is stored in red blood cells. When blood is removed under medical supervision, the body has to use stored iron to make new red blood cells, which gradually lowers the overload. Mayo Clinic explains that therapeutic phlebotomy lowers iron levels because much of the body's iron is contained in red blood cells. That is the biological, drain the tank, step. This is also why I keep saying, work with a doctor to check your ferritin and transferrin saturation. Those are not throwaway numbers. They help show whether you are truly overloaded and whether treatment is working. NIDA and Medline Plus both emphasize iron studies for diagnosis and follow-up, not just a routine CBC. And let me be clear. Do not try to fix this by randomly donating blood on your own schedule without medical guidance. If the diagnosis is wrong, or if another cause of anemia or fatigue is present, you can make things worse. Once the iron burden is being properly managed, then we talk about repair support. Because iron overload does not just leave behind a number problem. It leaves behind oxidative stress. The liver, in particular, has been taking the hits. And that is where people often look for supportive strategies that help calm inflammation and protect liver cells while the medical treatment is doing the heavy lifting. This is the point where some clinicians and patients explore botanicals with antioxidant properties, including silymarin from milk thistle. It has a long history of use and has been studied for liver support, but the evidence is mixed, and it should be viewed as supportive care, not a cure and not a replacement for phlebotomy. So when I say premium liver antioxidant protocol, I am not talking about a miracle pill. I am talking about a structured, clinically cautious support layer that may help the liver cope with oxidative stress while the root cause is being treated. In plain English, first remove the iron with your doctor. Then support the liver's recovery with evidence-informed ingredients, good nutrition, and monitoring. That is the right order. Not the other way around. Because if iron keeps flooding the system, no antioxidant stack can fully outrun the chemistry. This is the message I want you to remember. You can't supplement your way out of iron overload, but you can absolutely treat it. When the diagnosis is made early, people often do very well. When it is missed, the damage can keep stacking. So the winning strategy is simple. Measure the iron correctly, remove the excess medically, and then protect the liver while it heals. That is how you stop the rusting process instead of just chasing symptoms forever. Work with a doctor to check your ferritin and transferrin saturation, confirm whether HFE testing is appropriate, and treat the iron overload properly before you talk about anything else. Let's bring this home. You are not just getting older if your body has been quietly storing too much iron for years. Hemochromatosis is a real iron overload disorder, and excess iron can build up in organs and cause damage if it is not found and treated. The good news is that it is treatable, especially when it is caught before major injury has occurred. So instead of asking, "Why am I falling apart?" ask a better question. Could I be dealing with hidden iron overload? That one shift can change everything. Because once the right tests are ordered, the story becomes visible. Ferritin, transferrin saturation, and, when appropriate, HFE genetic testing. That is how the hidden problem steps out of the shadows and into a treatment plan. And here is the part one want every man watching to hear. If this is you, there is a path forward. Medical treatment is centered on removing excess iron with phlebotomy, which NIDDK describes as simple, inexpensive, and safe, with blood tests used to track ferritin and iron levels over time. Supportive liver care can then be discussed with your clinician, but it should never replace the core treatment. If you want the premium liver antioxidant blueprint mentioned in this video, check the link in the description. Just remember the order. Confirm the diagnosis, work with a doctor, lower the iron safely, and then support the liver's recovery with a plan that makes biological sense. This video is for educational purposes only. Hemochromatosis is a serious genetic disorder that requires medical monitoring. Do not self-diagnose or start donating blood recklessly without getting a comprehensive iron panel, including ferritin and transferrin saturation, and HFE genetic testing from your doctor. If you think iron overload may be part of your story, bring it to a qualified clinician and let the data guide the treatment. You are not failing. You may be carrying an invisible iron burden that deserves the right tests, the right treatment, and real medical attention.